And welcome to another episode of Black Renaissance. I'm your host, Kristen Ayers. We're always looking for new show ideas, so pitch them to us on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Black Renaissance, KBCW-TV. Today we're talking to a culinary master, an education nonprofit, and a filmmaker, and we'll be joined by the dynamic Bishop Clark as well. But first, please welcome eco-chef, food justice activist, and author, Bryant Terry. Welcome, Bryant.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's so good to have you on the show. We're obviously talking about your amazing new cookbook, Afro-Vegan.
Yes.
It's a beautiful cookbook. It just looks absolutely beautiful. I had a chance to thumb through it a little bit. But I got to tell you, I don't often hear Afro and vegan together. Ever, really. And so this is kind of a unique concept, I think, for a lot of people. Why was it important for you to, make a cookbook combining these two ideas?
Well, it's really important for me to illuminate this thread throughout history of people of African descent having diets that were largely vegetable-based. I don't know if they're completely vegan, and in many ways, that's not necessarily the goal I have, is to convert people to veganism, but it's really to help people of African descent and everyone think about how we can abandon this standard American diet, which has gotten a lot of us in trouble. We've seen this exponential rise in preventable diet-related illnesses over the past several decades. And one of the ways that we can actually, help to improve public health by starting with our family and our communities is by eating real food, by making meals from scratch, sharing them with friends and family, and really understanding that, we have a lot of control over our health and well-being, and I think it starts in the kitchen.
Absolutely. I think when we think of soul food or African-American cuisine, we don't think of vegetables as much. We got our collard greens and that sort of thing, but we think of a lot of heavy fried foods and that sort of thing. Is that really true to the legacy of African and African-American cooking?
Well, the thing is, what I found is people reduce African-American cuisine to antebellum survival food. People call it slave food, or the comfort foods of the cuisine, like you talked about, the sugary, the deep fried fatty meats, the sugary desserts, things that often people would have on holidays and celebrations and special occasions. But when we talk about the core, the foundational foods of the cuisine, we're talking about nutrient-rich leafy greens like collards and mustards and turnips and kale and things like, sugar snap peas and pole beans and black-eyed peas. I mean, these are largely healthful foods if cooked, healthfully. And so I really want people to understand that African-American cuisine is diverse, it's complex, and when we really, peel back the layers, kind of get past the vilification of the comfort foods of the cuisine, it's a really helpful cuisine, and we should be naming that and reclaiming it and rejecting these stereotypes of it as just being, all bad or, largely unhealthy.
Yeah, sort of owning, that agrarian aspect of our background and the history of our food.
Yes.
Now, you're actually a food activist, and when we think locally, especially about some of the issues that are facing the Black community when it comes to food justice, what would you say, particularly in urban areas of San Francisco and Oakland, what are some of the biggest issues facing Black communities when it comes to food?
Yeah, well, so much of my work was inspired by research I was doing as a graduate student in history at NYU, and I was deeply inspired by the work that was happening here in the Bay Area in the 60s and the 70s, led by the Black Panthers. They had these brilliant programs that looked at this intersection of poverty, malnutrition, and institutional racism, particularly their Free Breakfast for Children program. And they understood that so many low-income African-American communities, working-class, working-poor communities across the board, had very little access to healthy, affordable, fresh food. And we see those same problems contemporarily. When I first moved here from Brooklyn in 2008, West Oakland, California, which was largely a community that had very few access or very few resources for getting healthy, affordable food. I think there are 58 corner stores and liquor stores, and not one single supermarket. And not that supermarkets are necessarily the indicator for a robust food system, but I think every community deserves one. And so I, among dozens, if not hundreds of people throughout this country, are really looking at this issue of food insecurity or food injustice, as we understand it, where communities have the human right to healthy, affordable, fresh food. And so we're working to ensure that the problems, the community and food insecurity is owned and driven by the people living in those communities, because these people know how to, they know what the problem is, and they have tools for addressing it. They just need more resources.
Absolutely. Got to deal with those food deserts. This is an amazing cookbook, and I'm really excited to read it as somebody who's not such a great cook myself, I got to say. You're also the recipient, will be awarded soon, the James Beard Award, and what an honor for you to receive that. And definitely, I think anybody needs to get into this book. I think anybody could benefit from Afro-Vegan. You can buy it now. For more information about it, you can visit Bryant-Terry.com. That's BRYANT-Terry.com. We'll be right back with more Black Renaissance after this break.